Alright guys, so here's the review of the San Martin SN105-G-XB1. A little bit of a long one there, but this is another budget orientated watch from San Martin. Not the first I've checked out on the channel. I've actually got a couple of other ones I've checked out here. If you haven't seen them, I'll leave a link to them up in the top, and I'll also leave a link to the playlist down in the description as well. So, although I've already reviewed some more budget watches from San Martin, this one is actually even more budget than the previous ones. This, in fact, might be one of their cheapest watches to date, I think. So quickly pop it to one side, briefly show you the packaging if you haven't seen that before. It's the new style packaging, do like this. But we'll put this down and get right down to the watch. And here it is. So, something a little bit different from San Martin. Pilot style watch. If you're not keen on this white dial one, they also do it in black as well. They're the only two colour options you can get though. And it's also only available on this strap as well. There's no bracelet option or anything like that. But before we go into any more detail, let's go over the dimensions. So we've got a diameter of 36mm, thickness of 10.4, lug width of 18, then the all-important lug to lug, it's coming in at 45.9. In terms of weight on the supplied strap, it's coming in at 46 grams. So seeing as we're talking about the strap, let's show you that in a bit more detail first, before we get down into the rest of it. So, got the signed San Martin buckle there, got the two keepers, one of which is floating, and it is a nylon strap as well. Stitching's nicely done. Then flicking around to the other end, you can see we've got the nice leather bit on there to stop it fraying around the holes, and again on the end as well for the same reason, to stop it fraying. So it's a nice strap, comfortable, doesn't have any break-in period. When it comes to the case, it's fully brushed case. Just got a quick zoom in so you can see in a bit more detail. You can see we've got that signed crown there as well with the San Martin logo. And again, as I say, fully brushed case, just with that polished bezel there. And it is quite interesting, the bezel on this. It's almost like concaved. Don't know if it's going to come up on camera. I'll try and chuck in some macros, hopefully you can see it. It's definitely not something I've seen before. Just adds a little bit of interest, something a little bit different. And you can see there as well, we've got that crystal, which is protruding quite a bit. So it's a top hat style crystal, so you get a little bit of distortion on the edge of the dial. So if I just bring that around, you'll see it ever so slightly. But now let's take a closer look at the dial. It's fully printed, nothing applied. We've got the San Martin text, not the logo on the dial. So according to the listing, it actually says this is a sandblasted dial, but I'm not seeing it myself, so perhaps that's a mistake. Let me know if you're seeing it. I'll chuck in some macro, so hopefully you'll get a better idea, but I just don't see it at all myself, so I think that might be a mistake. When it comes to the numbers, there's something interesting with them. So when I first looked at this, I actually thought the numbers might have been applied, because they do actually protrude ever so slightly from the dial, but that's just because they've got so much lume on them, so they are raised up. I'll probably chuck in some macro so you can see this, because I don't know if it's going to come up that clearly here, but it is a cool effect. And it also bodes well when it comes to the lume as well, so we'll be checking out the lume in a bit, to see if that does actually help with it. When it comes to the hands, we've got nice proportions on all of them. And depending on how the light catches them, they'll either look silver or they'll look black. So, again, just adds a little bit of interest. But you're probably wondering, have we actually got sapphire crystal on this? So let's check that out now and find out. Using the trusty Diamond Selector 2. And no, we don't have sapphire, it's just mineral. Which you kind of expect given the price for this one. With it being more budget, they've had to cut costs somewhere, and the crystal is one of them. Although I'd personally be willing to pay that little bit extra to have the option of sapphire at least. So you're probably wondering what the movement is in this. So no, it's not actually an NH35 for a change, we've got the VH31. So that's a mecha quartz movement, which is why we've got that sweeping second hand. So it's just a push-pull crown, so pull that out, then we can change the time. We do actually have hacking as well, so the second hand stopped. And then pop it back in, second hand will re-engage. Obviously we don't have hand winding or anything because it is a quartz movement. I do like to see these movements in some watches. It's just a really great grab and go movement for a watch. And you get that almost mechanical sweep of the second hand. So now it's the bit you've probably been waiting for, the lume. So is that lume going to be any good. We've got it stacked up pretty high on that dial, despite it being fully printed and no applied indices. But let's check it out now and find out. So you can see we've got a bit there already, but let's charge it up, give it a proper chance. And there we go. So as you can see, we've got a mixture of different looms on this. So we've got on the hands C3, and also on the markers at 12, 3, 6 and 9, as well as that triangle up at the 12 too. But then when it comes to the numbers, we've got either BGW9 or BGWX1. I'm not entirely sure which one it is, because the listing in different places says both of those. I'm tempted to say it's BGWX1, because it mentions that a few more times than it does the BGW9. So we've got no patchiness at all on the hands or on the indices or the numbers. It's all looking good, despite having different looms on both. They're both well applied. But the question is, what's the longevity like? So I'll speed this up now, and then we'll see. So you can see, even when we speed it up, it doesn't really begin to fade much at all. It's still looking good with the C3 and the BGWX1 or BGW9, whichever it is. So as you could tell, with all those layers they got on the dial, with it making it look like it almost had applied indices, it's definitely paid off. So if I get a closer look at this, bring it a bit closer to the camera, you might be able to see it even better. And there you can see, it's still looking really bright, pretty much exactly the same as it was when we first started this. Barely faded at all. So really impressive, especially considering it's a fully printed dial. So that's why I'm leaning towards this being BGWX1. But even the C3 is still holding on really well, because they've got so many layers on there. So definitely impressive loom, especially for this kind of style of watch, and as I say, especially because it's not got applied indices. Oh, I've just thought, I completely forgot to show you the case back on this, so I'll quickly show you that now. So nothing too special, sterile case back, but it is screw down. Nicely finished as well with radial brushing. But now, all that's left to do is show you what it's like on wrist, go over the pros and cons, and then we'll wrap this up. So here's what it looks like on my 7-inch wrist. And it does wear really nicely. It's a really nice strap, really comfortable. And it just looks really good, I think, as well. Just the little polished details with that bezel, just catching the light nicely. That domed crystal adding a little bit of distortion. Nice compact lug to lug, slight curvature to the lugs as well, helping it conform to wrist. There's only a couple of holes of adjustment left on the strap, so if you've got a much smaller than 7-inch wrist, that might be an issue. So something to be aware of. But as I say, otherwise it is a really nice strap, really comfortable, and nicely finished too. Do appreciate they've got this signed buckle there too, matching the dial. And I just think overall, it's a really good piece. That VH31 movement, so you get that sweep at the second hand, almost mimicking an automatic. You've got that really impressive loom, definitely right up there with a lot of other San Martins, despite it being a fully printed dial. They've done a great job with that. And far better than you'd expect for this price as well. That's somewhere where cheaper watches normally tend to skimp out. But definitely no issues with that here. Yes, it would have been nice to have applied indices, but as I say, you don't really need it. Especially with this kind of style of watch. You don't normally tend to have applied indices. The only thing I'd really change is just add sapphire crystal, or at least the option for it. If you're interested in picking one of these up, link will be down in the description as always. That is an affiliate link, it does help support the channel, but you don't pay any extra. But that's it for this one guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.